the New World Order.
Those are the roots of trouble.
I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice, tumbling down the rabbit hole. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of election, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. But I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people.
And now, welcome to another episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. Here's your host from federaljack.com. It's Popeye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's live edition. It is July 1st, 2013. Wow, July 1st. I blinked yesterday and it was January and now it's July. Wow. Anyway, just sometimes when I do the time and date stamp there in the beginning of the broadcast, sometimes I forget what day it is and it hits you. You're like, holy crap, it already went through, 7th month. Halfway through the year already, literally. Where the hell did time go? Anyway, tonight's broadcast, we're going to be getting into a few things. I'm going to be ripping into a few things, ranting and raving, just like you all like to hear sometimes. No assassination conspiracies tonight, none of that. We're going to be getting into the news and what's actually going on and be tearing it apart, giving you my analysis on it. Later in the week, I got some more assassination stuff for you guys coming, so stay tuned. But tonight, I'm going to be getting into a few things like Obamacare, celebrities being hired, so taxpayer dollars will be used to pay celebrities to sell you Obamacare. How does that make you feel? These people already have enough money. Scumbags. Anyway, the El Dorado County Sheriff's Department over in Colorado versus the feds. A vaccine developer that admits the Gardasil vaccine is garbage. Wait till you hear what she has to say. And it's actually it's interesting because I found this recently, but the talk that she gave apparently was back in like 2009. Of course, you don't hear about that. People go, when? 2000 and what? 2009? Holy crap, Popeye! That was like at least 3 years ago. Yeah, I know. And you haven't been told anything about it. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Anyway, we're going to get into that and a few other things. By the way, does anybody else think that Paula Deen is the ultimate distraction right now? Pay no attention to what's going on with World War III in Syria. Pay no attention to the revelations that the NSA actually is recording and spying on everybody. That's just not, that's not just tinfoil hattery talk anymore. Right? You can't just use that pejorative label. Never mind all the other stuff going on. The economy, the ever-encroaching police state. Nope. Get mad because Paula Deen used a racial slur like 20 or 30 years ago. Who gives a crap? We'll be right back. You're supposed to be pissed off that Paula Deen said the dreaded N-word. Really? Who cares? Well, that's racist, Popeye. You should care. No. That's the most retarded argument I've ever heard, and I'm so tired of hearing racism. And of course the media will run with the racism story to push the ever white versus everyone else racism in this country. White people hate black people. White people hate Latinos. Ah, kill white people. Seriously, I'm not being like a white supremacist when I say that either, because those people are equally insane. But I mean, that's what's being perpetrated here. Fake race baiting, we all know why they do that. But there's more to it. It's a distraction. Don't look at the NSA. Don't look at, anything else that's going on. Pay no attention to anything that's of any real importance. No, get mad because Paula Deen said the N-word. Ooh, spooky, scary. Paula Deen's a bad racist. Ladies and gentlemen, she's a southern white lady who's got to be in, her mid-60s by now? Early 60s? Maybe mid-60s by now? So, if that's the case, you figure she was probably born sometime between the 40s and the 60s. If she's around, maybe even she's a little older, who knows. But we'll say she was probably born sometime between probably even later than the 40s. We'll say the 50s and the early 60s, probably the late 50s. That time period, especially in the South, we all know was, how do we say, I don't want to say integrated because I hate that terminology. But, okay, you still there's still parts of the South that are like this, but not many. But, I mean, and even not to the level it was, but you literally had, white-only fountains, black-only fountains, things like that still. Okay, the South was not very conducive to civil rights for black people. So, yeah, back in the day, there was a lot of racism. So you have to look at what she was brought up around, right? That'd be like judging somebody for, buying into the police state rhetoric that the government pushes now, 30 or 40 years from now, going after them and getting mad at them for something that, when they were younger, they bought into. It's the same crap. The same garbage that's pushed to our kids today. The propaganda is the same type of stuff that was fed to these young minds by people that were racist and unfortunately bought into that ideology. And whatever, that's their problem. The point is, and I could get on to how racism separates everybody else. I just don't want to get off on a tangent. I've done that in the past. I'll do more shows on it in the future. But the point is, what they're doing is they're pushing faux racism. They're race baiting the powers that shouldn't be. Oh my God, these white people hate black people. There's still this undertone of black people are evil in America. No, you guys push that crap. Knock it off. Stop it. Well, what happens when there's a white guy that kills a black person? Well, guess what? It happens. Black people kill white people, and Asian people kill black and white people, and then, purple people with polka dots kill all of them. I mean, it's the way it works. People kill people. But the media wants you to believe that it's solely black people, or solely white people, or it's solely Asian people, or whatever, or Latino, whatever the crook and fall guy of the day is. That's faux racism. That's race baiting. And this Paula Deen thing serves two agendas. One, it helps push that crap. It helps bolster it because it doesn't really play into any racism against Obama, but it helps feed that theory that there's still a massive racist undertone in this country. And by the way, everybody in this world, everyone at least one point in their life, unless you're a friggin' nun who doesn't utter a word, and I'm sure at least at one point you've had a thought in your head. Everybody, I will say mostly everybody has at least at one point in their life uttered some sort of racist slur, whether it was in jest towards a friend, whether it was in all seriousness, whether it was just screaming it because you were pissed off because you stubbed your toe at 3 o'clock in the morning. It doesn't matter. Everybody has maybe uttered the word from their lips or had a word that can be considered racist cross their mind. Okay? And it's not just white people, by the way. It's people all over the world, in every culture, all across the world. So obviously there's more to it than just white people hate everybody else that are brown. Stop it. Stop buying into that crap, okay? That's the first part of the distraction. The other part of the distraction is that they don't want you to look at anything else. Don't pay attention to anything else. For 4 or 5 days at least, it's been, oh my God, Paula Deen said the N-word 20 years ago. Who gives a shit? Really? Do you? Who cares? And she's losing all these sponsors. Oh my God, the sponsors are pulling out. We can't endorse Paula Deen. You're all a bunch of chickens. Every one of them. Political correctness is killing this country. Who cares if she said it? You should ask her, do you feel that way now? No, I don't. Okay, fine, move on. Should you have said it to begin with? What was the context? Tell us everything, Paula. I mean, she's being raked over the coals. Who cares, dude? Who cares? What about all the friggin' rap albums out there that say nigga this and nigga that? That's okay? Or that actually do say the full word and not nigga. What about those? Oh, that's okay. Target, I'll bet, will continue to sell those, and all these other corporations, Walmart and the rest of these scumbag corporations, will continue to sell those albums because they make money. Because that's what's in style. But Paula Deen, because she said, she admitted, oh my God, she actually admitted to it. She didn't go, no, I didn't say it, or blah, 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 blah. She owned up to it. She said, I can't even remember. I'm sure I did when I was younger, whatever, basically. And people are flipping out. All of you people are losers. You could care less that the NSA is reading your frigging email, but Paula Deen says the N-word 20 years ago, and damn, that woman needs to get lynched. Hang her from a tree. Stop being played like a bunch of morons. Everybody. This is ridiculous. People care more about what Paula Deen said 20 years ago than they do what's going on right now. That's the problem with this country. Let's get all kerfluffled about something that happened a long, long time ago that's actually not detrimental to our liberties. Who cares what she said? Who really? Does Paula Deen affect you at the end of the day? Well, I eat her food. Well, if you know that if you don't like the fact that she said racist terms 20, 30 years ago, and you think it's wrong that she said it, then you can go and not buy her food, whatever fast food crap that she sells, or her books, or her DVDs, or whatever other stuff that she endorses, or people that endorse her. You can then you can choose. But like going after somebody for something they said 20 years ago, well, damn. How many people out there can honestly tell me that they never said anything that could be construed to be racist? Well, no, I never used the N-word. Okay, have you ever said anything else? Think about it. Because, I mean, now, according to the laws, you breathe in the wrong direction. Oh, racism! I mean, if you disagree with what the president's doing, you're called a racist. So really, where do we draw the line? That's the problem. We have to stop being a bunch of panty wastes. My feelings are hurt. Tough. Seriously, I don't like the word. You know what? Let me tell you something. It's a word. I don't like. You know what I don't like? It's not even that I don't like the word. I don't like the fact that people allow a word to overpower them and consume them the way that this stupid word does. Seriously. Oh my God, it's the dread. Do you know what the word actually means? Do you actually, if you look it up, do you know what it means? The word? The dreaded word? I'm gonna say it just because people are gonna get pissed off. The term, if you actually look up the word nigger in the dictionary, means ignorant individual. The problem is, it was idiots, racist buffoon morons, slave owners, and other people that perpetrated the word and gave it a negative connotation. And people, us, allow ourselves, we program our kids, generation after generation, to be afraid of a word. A word! A word which has caused people to kill other people. A simple word, which doesn't even mean what it's attributed to. It actually just means ignorant individual. So who, I ask you, is the real ignorant individual? the person that the racial epithet is being hurled at, or the moron who actually thinks like that? That's how you have to look at it, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to get out of this cheap, dark matrix of power, we need to stop falling into their traps, and this is one of them. They use certain terms to evoke emotions, and believe me, I'm not saying that what happened back in the day is not horrific, and what happened to the people that were enslaved was not horrific, but let's be honest, the people that were selling the slaves to the white people to bring over here, the Dutch East India Company, were black Africans. And there were cases where people were rounded up, but it wasn't like the black people were running around like brainless morons out in the woods, and the white people came in and rounded them up like cowboys and Indians and roped them up and tied them up and hogtied them and threw them on ships and took them over here. I mean, they did round them up, but they were sold, okay, by other black people in Africa. So let's not forget the truth. See, the truth of things is left out to race bait, to bring about emotion, and they do it quite well. Look at the Trayvon Martin case is a prime example. They're still the mainstream still tries to push racism and emotion and still push things. Still, even though he stopped with the stand your ground defense, they stopped using it. So now they stopped attacking the stand your ground law because it doesn't apply to the case anymore. But they still, because they pushed so far with the Zimmerman thing, the other agenda is still blatantly out there in the front. It's race baiting. I'm not even taking sides in the case. I'm saying what the mainstream media is doing with the case, how they have people pontificate on it, how they report on it, and it's another distraction. It's to distract you from important. Not that someone's being shot to death isn't important, but they get you to be emotionally attached to that, and then they show you a quick 30-second snippet about the Syrian rebels and how we need to arm them. Moving on, and they're not Al Qaeda anymore. We love them. Yay! Moving on. Cognitive dissonance. They hit you with so much crap. Anyway, okay, who cares what Paula Dean said? I don't really honestly care, okay? I don't give a flying crap what Paula Dean said. Okay, I don't care. People could say, well, that's because you're a white guy, Popeye. Well, guess what? Okay, I have multiple different ethnicities in my family background. You'd be surprised. Okay, do I care? My wife is full-blooded Latina. She's Puerto Rican. Do I care if someone says something stupid? Do I get emotional if someone says something about dirty spics or whatever? Actually, yeah, I do. But you know what? I allow logic to prevail, and I don't allow my emotion to control me sometimes. I had to refrain myself from turning around a booth one night in a restaurant, punching a dude square in the face because he said people that are bilingual, and he was referring to Spanish people. He said that they were ignorant and they were stupid. And I really had to keep my mouth shut because it's a watering hole my wife and I frequent, and I didn't want to get arrested because I was going to turn around and just belt the guy in the face. And a cooler head prevailed, and my wife asked me not to punch the guy, and I also had to refrain her from getting up. But I mean, I allowed myself. I didn't want to allow myself to be rooked in by ignorance. Okay, I have to hold myself to a higher standard because I understand how easy it is to get sucked in, okay? Whoa, why didn't you get mad? Because he didn't say it to my wife directly. If he ever said something to my wife directly, well, that's a different story. All bets are off. But I digress. The point is, this stuff is pushed and perpetrated, and the true facts are not told to everybody. So that way they can keep perpetrating this, side A versus side B mentality. We need to stop buying into this crap because that's how we're all controlled. And we're all on the same freaking team at the end of the day. We'll be right back. I want to stay on this topic for a second, and I don't mean the media distraction. I mean the terminology that we get emotionally attached to. We need to, I'm trying to think of a good way to put this without, using any buzzwords or anything that I don't want to continue to keep pushing. We need to refresh our lexicon, I guess you could say. We need to think about the terms and the words that we use and say, and the things that we allow to control us. And again, when I come on here and I give you guys an idea or a thought that's in my head. I don't come on trying to preach to you like, this is what you should do because I know it's a tried true method. No, this is just, I'm on my journey, and the things that I discover and truths and information that I come across. If I feel it's important and I feel that people, I want to share it with people, then I'm going to open my mouth. So don't think I'm getting all preachy or anything with you. And anything that I say, hey, you should try this, I'm doing it currently or have done it already myself. I do not, I'm not a hypocrite. I actually practice what I preach. I don't go out and tell you to do one thing and I go out and do the complete opposite. But we need to stop allowing ourselves to be controlled by stupid terms and stupid words. And honestly, I think for 2016, because I think the whole race thing has been pushed, a lot of people have said, oh, maybe they'll put in a Latino candidate for president. Well, maybe the Republicans will with Rubio or something, but I'm not saying that they're not controlled. Maybe it'll be like Rubio versus whoever, Jeb Bush, God forbid, probably one of the Bush clan though. But I think on the faux Democrat side, well, I'm going to say faux Republican and faux Democrat because there really isn't such a thing as Democrat or Republican. It's crap. So we're going to say faux Republican and faux Democrat. I figure maybe if I can come up with some new terms for things, I'll myself stop using and reinforcing some of these old horrific terms which do nothing but help enslave us in this matrix. I think 2016, I think they're going to put up Hillary Clinton. And to do what? I think they're going to push the woman side of things. Now, we need a first female president. We had the first non-white president, first black president. I don't think they're going to push for a Latino candidate. I think that the powers that shouldn't be, I think Bilderberg, whoever, I think their candidate of choice will be Hillary Clinton. I already see it. It's being made now. The case for her for 2016 is being made now, 3 years before. This is the same kind of crap that they did with Obama. Where you started to see people. Even he was just a senator, and they were starting to lay the groundwork. Hey, this young senator, he could be the next president of the United States. People were like, "What? Who's this guy?" I mean, we already know who Hillary Clinton is, and we already know that she has presidential aspirations. So I'm willing to bet they'll run her in 2016 to keep us separated and to keep pushing this division, just like they did with racism. Now the next thing they'll do, it'll be sexism. And what they'll do is I can see if she gets in, the first arguments, just like with the Obama administration, is you're racist. The arguments against Hillary will be you're sexist, you don't like Hillary, you're evil because Hillary Clinton is a woman, and you just don't think that a woman can do the job, and you're a sexist pig, and rise of feminism, and ooh yay. That's the kind of crap that'll be. I'm not saying that women doing jobs and everything else isn't great, but we all know, I've gone over the reality of where the feminist movement came from and who actually funded it and what their goal of pushing it was. It wasn't about women's freedom. It was about more women in the workforce so they could tax more people and getting them out of the home so that the kids got out of the house sooner and into the school sooner and into government hands and control sooner, therefore being able to control their little brains sooner. And now what do you see today? That very thing where people are being controlled and the schools are turning out little brainless automatons. That's exactly what you see going on today. The young generations where people go, I don't get it, man. This 18-year-old kid, I went to the store and the clerk was a moron. I don't get it. I mean, I actually had that experience 1 or 2 nights ago. I went to the store to go pick something up, and the clerk, something very simple, not even a problem, but something very simple happened, and he didn't know how to deal with it. And he actually stared at the object for about 10 seconds in amazement, and then just looked at me and put it in the bag, almost like you're not watching me put this in the bag, and then just put it over on the side. He accidentally knocked something open, but it was like he didn't know how to handle it. He couldn't just close it back up and put it away. That's the kind of kids we're turning out. We're going to break. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. All right, I'm going to move on to a few other things that I had originally already planned on discussing, but you all get the point. I extended my conversation into my sidetracked thought there because it was important. And it's important for people to see what's going on. Look, I think racism is abhorrent. I think people that think like that are obviously ignorant. I have met people that were formerly racist, and once they came out of that level of ignorance, that racism disappeared. Did it flare up once in a while? Of course. It's left up to the person to control it and use their own logic, but it is, to me, I don't think it's something like a disease that can't be stopped. I think it's more of a disease of the mind, the way we think, but not a literal disease, I guess a disease with the way the person thinks, maybe, if you want to say, or not a disease, but a dis-ease with the way the person thinks. And I totally get how it's all, I mean, a lot of it, most of it has to do, if not all of it has to do with your upbringing and the people that you're surrounded by. I mean, the kids aren't born racist. Little black kids and white kids and Asian kids and stuff, you put them next to each other, and Latino kids, you put them next to each other, they don't care. They play with each other, they're babies, they're all happy. They don't see color or race. Only the adults do. And then the adults are the ones that project those ideas onto the children. We program the future generations. It's up to us to break that cycle and stop it. But we have to admit that that cycle even exists. So many people are like, oh, we can't talk about this, you're going to piss people off. First of all, as I said, the dreaded N-word, means ignorant individual, and we need to stop playing into it. Just as much as there are people that use it in the derogatory manner, in the pejorative manner towards other human beings, well, guess what? By us giving it that much power, like that plays into it that gives it just as much power as the person using it. How about if the person said the comment and nobody cared? Seriously, what if nobody gave a shit? What would happen then? Well, the word would suddenly lose all of its power, wouldn't it? Because you could sit there and say it all you want, and people wouldn't care. Okay, look, I know, I've seen with my own two eyes. Okay, I've been over in Holland, in Amsterdam. Right, every year around Christmas time, Santa's he's got his little helpers named Black Pete. I call him Schwarze Pete. Okay. And he's literally like a little black elf, okay? And I'm going to tell you what, when my wife and I first saw it, we were quite shocked, because we were like, what, really? The little kids run around in blackface and everything else. And we were actually quite shocked. I was like, oh my God, is somebody going to get stabbed out here in the streets? Are there going to be riots? Like, what's... And none of that happened. In fact, everybody that was walking around, black people, white people, all people of all races, understood that it was that area's culture that did that. They've been doing this for, hundreds and hundreds of years, very long time. Okay, so the people weren't offended by it, and I actually asked one of the local shopkeepers in one of the coffee shops. We stopped in, and I asked one of the people about it, one of the people that ran it, and he was a black guy, and he said to me, I said, you guys don't get offended at this? Because over in America, man, people would literally be out in the streets. He goes, yeah, I know. He goes, but we don't have that same thing that the American black people have, and we're not. And I forget exactly how he put it, but he said, we're not pumped full of that. Not that it's propaganda that what happened to them was wrong or anything, but I forget how he put it, so I don't want to use the word. I mean, propaganda isn't evil. Propaganda is just information put out to get a point across, but. I'm trying to think of a better terminology for people that might get offended at the term, but he basically said, look, we're not programmed with that same thoughts, the same thoughts and stuff, so we don't look at it the same way. And I was very shocked by this. I really was. I was taken aback by it. And I remember my mother telling me about the tradition when I was a kid, because my mother was born in Holland. But I was very taken aback that Santa's little helper is a little black elf. Now they try to be PC over there, and they tell you, well, it's because he got soot on him and everything. But they have a commercial that he's in a rowboat, the old slave galleons, and there's probably like 50 of them all in the little elf suits rowing, and Santa is dressed like the Pope with a staff. It's really creepy. Santa dresses like the Pope. I swear to God, he dresses just like the Pope, except he's got a red, the gown is not white, it's red, and he's got a big staff. The point is, they don't get all up in arms, and I'm not saying what happened wasn't horrific. But the reason why people get up in arms and so fired up today and so emotionally charged is because it's played in, it's bred into them, and when they see things that draws that emotion out in them, they're being played, and it's done on purpose. It's and I'm in no way, shape, or form condoning anything that happened with slavery. That whole ordeal is sickening. But it wasn't just black people that were slaves too. There were Chinese, the Irish. I mean, humans have been subjugating humans for a very, very, very long time. I don't condone any of it. I don't condone my government trying to subjugate me as a slave. So I think slavery is abhorrent in all of its forms, any and all forms of it. Nobody should be forced, at the barrel of a gun or with violence or harm or anything like that to do work or labor. There's enough money in the world and enough food in the world to make everybody, happy enough to, gladly work an 8-hour day if you need him to, but that wouldn't play into the way the system works, would it? I could go on and on and on. The point is, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want you to allow yourselves to be controlled because somebody uses a key phrase or a keyword to yank on your emotional heartstrings and piss you off. Oh my God, that person said the N-word. Ah! You know what? Good. So what? Who cares if he said it? He's an ignorant moron. Sir, do you actually believe what you just said? Well, yes, I do. Well, then you're an idiot, okay? And you're a party of one. Go kick rocks. Next. That's how you deal with someone like that. Don't play into this division crap, because all it's going to do is tear us apart. I'm going to tell you what, the reason I brought up the whole Hillary Clinton thing the last segment was because if it takes another couple of years for them to tear the country apart, they will. They'll bring in as many outsiders as they can, people from all different countries. That's why they want to just give amnesty to all the illegals, because it gives them votes. Okay, they want to bring in as many outsiders as they can. And then they want to be able to give a lot of them, if not all of them, voting rights, and then get everybody infighting amongst each other and literally tear the country, let the country tear itself apart. See, the country's too strong to come up from an outside source and stand on the outside as if we were a big fortress and stand on the outside and start hurling rocks at us or lobbing missiles, because you might kill some innocent civilians. Yeah, you might actually, if somebody attacked us, you might even take a city or take half of a city. But not only would our military, but our people would fight back. So how do you stop that? No army in the world could stop that, because it would be an idea of freedom. You'd have to kill every last man, woman, and child in this country who were fighting back to stop it. I mean, you could if you just nuked everything, but then the ground, the water, everything is screwed. Yeah, I mean, and you could, even if you dropped maybe some of their other weapons, like the neutron bomb and some of this other stuff. But again, the world would see what you were doing, and other countries might even go after you. If you were part of this cabal, you might actually, make other people stand up. So, what's the best way to stop this from happening? Because they wouldn't be able to control that situation. FEMA camps, no FEMA camps. Foreign troops, no foreign troops. I don't give a crap. What's the best way to do it? They get us to fight from within, and they keep us fighting from within. And they only got to plant one little seed. Even if it takes 100 years, eventually you'll have a whole acre full of whatever they're trying to sow. And guess what? It's been a long time since they planted those seeds. Look, the use of racism and separation by whatever, division to control the masses is very old. It's time to pull ourselves out of this mess. The only way we can stop a civil war in this country from happening, part 2 / the revolution, whatever you want to call it, is to admit to these things and see it for what it is. We're all being played. People's emotions get yanked because of a keyword or a buzzword. And I know the word, and it's not just the dreaded N-word. There's other words out there that have negative connotations to them because of the use of them over the years. We need to, if we want to be evolved enough, if we want to be evolved enough to be able to go out and explore outer space and go and explore the oceans. Because people, we've explored the oceans. Really? Really? No, we haven't. No, we haven't. Maybe on the top we know, maybe because of satellites, but do you really know what's underneath? Do you think we've gone into every crevice? Do you think we've found species that are, probably that we think are extinct and aren't? Wake up. We haven't. But we're not even going to get to that point if we stay at the same base level mentality that we're at. What did Einstein say about solving a problem? You can't solve a problem with the same mentality that created it. Paraphrasing a little bit there, but it's about right. You can't solve a problem with the same mentality that created the problem. So how are we supposed to evolve mentally if we can't even get along amongst ourselves? We want to kill each other because somebody else is an Arab, or somebody's black, or somebody's white, or somebody's Latino, or somebody's a woman, or somebody's a man, or somebody's homosexual, or somebody's not homosexual, somebody's, whatever. Green with purple polka dots and a horn growing out of their forehead because we don't like them. Oh my God! They're different from me! Well, the world would be a pretty boring place if everybody was the same, by the way. I could continue on this, but I don't want to get too sidetracked. I want to move on to other things. The point is, we are controlled and divided and kept divided. And we need to understand how we're kept divided, and if we understand how we're being kept divided and why it would benefit the people that control things, the powers that shouldn't be, to keep us all divided, then the easy ways that they do keep us divided will cease to function and they'll be irrelevant. And yeah, maybe they'll come up with other ideas, but then at least you'll be a little more awake. You can start to spot it, and people can go, wait, no, don't fall for that. Look, it's garbage, blah, 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 blah. It's bunk. That's what we need to do. If we keep allowing ourselves to get sucked in via emotion, we're repeating the same cycle over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. How many times do I have to tell you? It's like being in a bad relationship with somebody, whether it be a man or a woman. You're in a bad relationship and your spouse is abusive, whether it's physical. In this case, it's now because they, the way the police, they beat the crap out of people and tase people. It's physical and mental abuse. And we're sitting there like the battered wife. It's okay, it's okay. And when other people try to come in and tell us, no, wake up. You go, no, my God, no, my husband, I love him. No. He means the world to me. Or my wife, no, I love her. She's not nuts and trying to stab me with a butcher knife. No, it's okay, I love her. No one wants to see, you instantly start to take that defense of them. And there's many different reasons, fear, whatever. Until we get to that point that we can evolve enough where these controls are no longer effective, we're not going to get into this utopian future of flying cars and everything else. Flying cars. Can you imagine that? People can't even drive on 4 tires on the highway, let alone flying cars. So seriously, we need to look. If we're going to evolve, this is the conversation amongst others that we have to have. This is one of the conversations that we have to have, and that's why I wanted to sidetrack myself a little bit. But on the other side of the break, when we come back, I'm going to get back into a few of the other things I wanted to get into tonight. So stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. I still have a jam-packed broadcast for you. Don't go anywhere. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Next hour, I'm going to play a piece of audio for you. Fiery Irish politician. Her name's Clare Daly. She ripped the Obamas apart last week. I guess the Irish call it the House of Commons, or I don't know if they have a parliament. I guess it's the House of Commons or whatever. But anyway, like their version of Congress. They actually, at least their politicians have some balls when they go up, at least that they actually speak what they feel sometimes, some of them still. I prefer I'm not sure if it's the Japanese or the Vietnamese one. Maybe it's the Chinese. I guess all the Asians in general, they're because I've seen the Japanese throw shoes at each other, but like maybe it was the Chinese. One of them, they're like prone to fight in like 3.5 seconds. The politicians will get in a fight and they're just leaping over at each other, just fighting knocking the podium over, 15, 20 people. They're just, they're not scared to fight. Our politicians are like, sir, you used your name and rank out of tone and you didn't say the proper terminology when you decided to start speaking. Therefore, just struck from the record and hoo ha ha. Let's have tea and cry. Our politicians are really weak. I think they should bring back like UFC fighting in Congress. But anyway, Clare Daly over in Ireland just absolutely slammed the Obamas. So I'm going to play the audio for you guys. I wanted to actually do that last week, but it was kind of hectic, and then I took Friday off because I needed to get caught up on my archives, which, by the way, I'm glad to announce that, yes, the archives are all caught up, so you can the only thing that's not finished is the list on Federal Jack itself. But if you go to YouTube or the download archive section on Federal Jack, all of the archives are up to date. So there's like 1 or 2 shows that aren't up there, but everything out, because I was like a month behind, everything's all caught up. So that's what I've been doing. So much to go over. I have a stack of stuff here. I'm sitting here looking at it, and it's like, I don't know what to start with. How about this really quick? Dem resolution would let, quote, mobile Congress cast votes from home. Now, I've talked about this in the past, how they have, and I know this because this isn't just from one person that's told me this. I was able to confirm this with at least 3 different sources that I trust, independent of one another. So it was, and I announced this. I said that they had the ability back in the day, and this is about a year or 2 ago, to mobily, using a mobile device, and I'm not sure if they had to be in the building or not, but I had said that they were working on, and I wasn't sure if it rolled out completely yet or if it was in its test phase, but I know that there was a mobile app, we'll say, being worked on, developed, so that the politicians didn't even have to show up to go and actually be in physically in the building to vote. And there are some rules and stipulations to that, that would prevent that, we'll say. So now they're trying to make it so that they don't even have to, if they want to be at home, they don't even have to be at Washington. They could be at home in their district with video Skype. Now, I agree to a certain extent that I agree to a certain extent. I know the older politicians back in the day didn't live in Washington, and they used to just travel in there for debates and stuff. And most, a lot of them actually lived on their farms or whatever, and they would travel into, for debates or votes and stuff. And sometimes they would miss the votes and everything else. And that's why politicians are usually in Washington now, and blah 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 blah. Yeah, I guess it's kind of neat that technology would allow them to vote on things from their house, but dude, I pay you for your ass to be in Washington, right? That's what your job is supposed to be. So if the tech people at Yahoo can't work from home, then you shouldn't be allowed to work from home. I mean, after all you do is go and stand there and yap with each other. Oh, politicians spend many a sleepless night, Popeye. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sorry. I fell asleep during the line of BS. I mean, come on. Yeah, some politicians do work their butts off on certain things sometimes here or there, but let's be honest, really. The amount of money they get paid and the amount of days that they have off, nobody else in this country has that job where you get that many days off and you get paid the money that they get paid, the benefits that they get paid. They're not the laws that they pass aren't, they don't, I'm trying to think of the word, they don't pertain to them or their loved ones, their family. And now we should just let them, hey, we're the ultimate rulers. I'm gonna call in on Skype from my palace in the hill. No, get off your fat, lazy rear end and get your ass down to Washington, or you're fired. How about that? You're fired anyway because you suck. All of you. I could go on and on and on, but there you go. They want to vote from their mobile phone. So I told you, Now they're trying to pass the bill, so I guess the technology really was floating around out there. Yes, I'm being sarcastic. All right, we'll be back with hour number 2 in just 59 short seconds. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with hour number 2 here on tonight's live edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. It is July 1st, 2013. I'm your host, Popeye from FederalJack.com. You're tuned in live to me right now over on Unbound Radio, unboundradio.com. Go check out the website. Just all-around awesome crew to be working with, and I'm glad I have a place that I could hang my hat and do my radio show for you all 5 days a week. Go check out unboundradio.com, and the website has an Amazon store, so if you guys want to buy anything from Amazon, if you buy stuff from Amazon on the regular, just go over to Unbound and go through it says Outdoor Store, I think, up on the top there. Just click on that and go to Amazon through that way, or search your product if the Amazon search thing is there, and go that way, and then your purchase, actually, you don't pay any extra, but because of the little partnership program that Amazon does, a little bit goes to Unbound and helps us provide the broadcasting for you all. So, you do your normal shopping, and just your normal you don't even have to do anything extra. Just your normal shopping helps Unbound. So, easy way to help out, right? So, all right, check it out. Anyway, hour number 2, we're going to be getting into a bunch of different stuff. Coming back on the other side of the break, because remember, the short first segment here is quick. But I guess that's kind of redundant, right? The short first segment is quick. Is that like the brown, lazy fox jumps over the dog, whatever? Anyway, the second segment, when we come back here, I'm going to play the audio from Clare Daly, the Irish politician, just ripping the Obamas apart last week over in Ireland. And it's refreshing to hear somebody speak the truth instead of just, fawning over the Obamas, as if they're the royal family of the United States of America. First of all, we don't have a royal family of the United States of America. Okay, yeah, we do. But I digress. We really didn't separate that much from the British monarchy as much as people would like to think. But anyway, the Obamas are not royalty. And even if you want to get technical, and the Queen still does have her tendrils attached to things, she's not my queen. I don't care. I don't have a queen or a king. I am my own king. I am a free individual. Okay? That's how it works. I am infinite consciousness. You cannot control me. Okay, that's all of us are like that. And no king or queen. What is this? Going back 300-400 years. King George, come over and just rule us. Screw it. Screw what went on in the Revolutionary War and all those farmers that died. Just come on over and rule us. Although, like I said, I could go on and on and on and digress into another tangent for an hour about how the monarchy is still attached to things. But just go do your research. You'll see what I'm talking about. Educate yourself, or I should say, re-educate yourself. What's a good term? Unpropagandize yourself? No, deprogram. There you go. Deprogram yourself from the horrific lies that have been pumped into your head. Look, I always said the same crap, so it's not like I came out of my mother's womb being all-knowing with a cape on my back. I just did the research. And I had an open mind and was willing to actually listen. I had to exercise patience myself, too, so trust me. I practice what I preach. Anyway, we're going to break. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere when we get back. Clare Daly is going to rip into the Obamas. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. So, last week on Obama's tour of Europe, they were in Ireland, and the Irish media does the same thing our media does. They were fawning all over him, just like our media does when another leader comes here, unless because you don't see bad guys coming here, except when that one time Ahmadinejad was supposed to speak over at the UN, and they were like, "Oh my God, he's coming into the country! We should arrest him!" Diplomatic community, you can't do that, right? What's his name? Didn't Biden say that when they asked him how come they didn't arrest the dude, the head of the Pakistani ISI, when Luke asked Joe Biden years ago in a video, it's on YouTube. He asks him how come they didn't arrest the head of the Pakistani ISI, General Mahmoud Ahmed, why they didn't arrest him for wiring $100,000 to Muhammad Atta, and he responded with something like, well, like diplomatic, whatever, we didn't arrest Khrushchev, blah, 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 blah. So, but then they make a big deal about Ahmadinejad. It just goes to show you how two-faced they are. Yes, I know. Unless you understand the full context of what I just said, you're going to look at me and be like, what? Sorry, I have a tendency to do that sometimes. My brain goes off on a tangent. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, before I take up any more time ranting tonight, as you can see, I'm fired up. I want to play this audio for you. Here you go. Irish politician Clare Daly telling us and the other Irish politicians there how she really feels about Obama and the hypocrisy during the G8 meeting over there. Here, check this out.
Taoiseach, I think it's important to take this opportunity to bring a bit of balance into the discussions around the visit of the US President and his wife, given the almost unprecedented slobbering over them that the nation has been exposed to over the last number of days. And it's really hard to know which is worse, whether it's the outpourings of the Obamas themselves or the sycophantic fawning over them by sections of the media and the political establishment. We've had separate and special news bulletins by the state broadcaster to tell us what Michelle Obama and her daughters had for lunch in Dublin, but very little questioning of the fact that she was having lunch with Mr. Tax Exile himself. We had very little challenging of the fact that she's glad to be home, a country that she's been in less than a week and that her husband has very tenuous links in. And of course, the biggest irony of all, the protestations of Obama himself in his speech to the children in Northern Ireland about peace, when he said, those who choose a path of peace, I promise you that the United States of America will support you every step of the way. We will be the wind at your back. Now I ask you, is this person going for the Hypocrite of the Century award? Because we have to call things by their right names. And the reality is that by any serious examination, this man is a war criminal. He has just announced his decision to supply arms to the Syrian opposition, including the jihadists, fueling the destabilisation of that region and continuing to undermine secularism and knock back conditions for women. This is the man who is in essence stalling the Geneva peace talks by trying to broker enhanced leverage for the Syrian opposition by giving them arms, and to hell with the thousands more who lose their lives, or the tens of thousands more who will be displaced as this war goes on. This is the man who has facilitated a 200% increase in the use of drones, which have killed thousands of people, including hundreds of children. And you, Taoiseach, you are the one who's turned a blind eye on these activities. You've talked about the G8 being an opportunity to showcase Ireland. But is it not a reality that you have showcased us as a nation of pimps, prostituting ourselves in return for a pat on the head? To be honest with you, we were really speculating this morning whether you were going to deck the cabinet out in leprechaun hats decorated with a bit of stars and stripes to really mark abject humiliation here. So my question to you, Taoiseach, is as follows. What steps are you going to take to follow in the correct statements and the correct decision of your colleague Taoiseach Eamon Gilmore, who voted against the lifting of the arms embargo in relation to Syria? What steps are you going to take to ensure that no weapons for Syria are going to go through Shannon in breach of our international laws on neutrality? What steps are you going to take to showcase this country not as a lapdog of US imperialism, but as an independent nation with an independent foreign policy which takes a lead in international diplomacy to outlaw the use of drones, the favourite method of extermination of your friend Mr. Obama?
On the Taoiseach, quiet please. Well, let me confirm to you first of all that the President was not inquiring about your whereabouts or your well-being. I think your comments are disgraceful. I think they do down the pride of Irish people all over the world who are more than happy to see this island be a host to the G8, the leaders of the most industrialised nations in the world. And for you, Deputy Daly, to stand up here and criticise the American President for giving a continuation of support for a fragile peace process in Northern Ireland, where over 3,000 people lost their lives over 30 years, is a disgraceful do-down. And if you represent those people on the back line over there, if that's the kind of comment that you intend to make, well, then it's beneath you, actually. Even those of your predecessors in their brilliance never matched what you've just said here. Let me remind you that the communities in Northern Ireland and the politicians from administrations in this House here, of all governments, together with British governments and Northern Ireland politicians and Northern Ireland communities, have put together a very fragile peace. And far be it from you to come in here and criticise somebody who wants to support that process, visibly, personally, and with assistance from the United States, where 35 million Irish Americans, Deputy Daly, want this peace process to continue. And the young lady, the young student who introduced the President in Belfast, put her finger on it very well when she said the reality is that Northern Ireland has had a past, and the reality is that Northern Ireland has a future. And that future, Deputy Daly, is one where peace in communities and across communities should abound. And it's beneath you to say that the American president should not be a party to keeping that process alive and visible.
That is like the worst rebuttal I've ever heard, but she defends herself. But this guy's rebuttal is the worst. It's a logical fallacy. Are you listening? He doesn't actually refute anything that she said. How dare you say that? And then, here. How dare you? You've offended me. You've offended people. Appeal to emotion. Appeal to emotion. No real refuting of the argument. Logical fallacy, but she defends herself.
Insofar as the discussion on Syria is concerned, there was a serious discussion at the G8 summit with the members of the G8 themselves. I'm not sure whether you favour the Russian intervention here or whether you favour what the European Union put forward. While there was division among the countries in Europe about the lifting of the arms embargo, Ireland took a very clear position on this, which was articulated by the Taoiseach, that the embargo should not be lifted. But the conclusion of the G8 summit was that the Geneva peace talks should take place. Nobody wants to see wanton slaughter and the exodus of hundreds of thousands of people from Syria.
Except Obama and his masters.
And far from a warmongering discussion, the situation here is what can you do to bring about discussions and negotiations that will restore, in the first instance, peace to this situation, and in the second instance, a structure that will allow Syria to continue in the time ahead without the obscenities and the humanitarian crisis that we've witnessed in the last 2 years.
Deputy Daly, 1 minute. Please. Yeah. 1 minute, Deputy.
Thanks, Ceann Comhairle. Of course, I said nothing about the Northern Ireland peace process, a process which everybody supports, but is not one that gives you a licence to do whatever you like anywhere else around the globe. There isn't much peace in Iraq, where 26 people lost their lives yesterday. There isn't much peace in Afghanistan. There isn't much peace in Pakistan. And there certainly isn't much peace in Syria. And the side I'm on in Syria is the one, and what I agree with is the statement by Oxfam, where Oxfam said sending arms to the Syrian opposition won't create a level playing field. Instead, it further risks fueling an arms free-for-all, where the victims are the civilians of Syria. Our experience tells us that the crisis will only drag on for longer if arms are poured in. And that's in essence what the Americans have done here. I can only take from your non-answer to the question that you were asked is that you're going to take no steps to ensure that those arms will not be sent through Shannon in breach of our neutrality. You said here last week no arms ever came through Shannon. How do you know that, seeing as no investigation investigations take place. The reality is, in 2012, 548 US planes landed in Shannon. How do you know what was on them if you haven't examined them? Your Minister for Transport revealed in a parliamentary question that 239 civilian planes landed in Shannon, where they sought permission because they were carrying munitions of war or dangerous goods on a civilian aircraft. What steps are you going to take to intervene in this situation? And the last point I'll make is that people in this country are very fond of our American brothers and sisters, and I think we stand far more shoulder to shoulder with them by making valid criticisms of their president, who has broken his election promises, rather than just pimping this nation as a tax haven for their corporations. I'm sure the Americans would far prefer if their multinationals paid their taxes at home rather than offshore here, so they could develop their health care, so they wouldn't be wasting money on arms being sent to slaughter people in other countries.
Thank you, Deputy.
Well said, Deputy Daly. Well said. And the guy she was arguing with, I don't even know his name, but he comes back at her with some like 2.5-minute rant, another, logical fallacy-filled rant, non-argument. I won't even call it an argument because she even points out, you didn't answer my question. The guy didn't answer her question. That's why I let his answer play. I didn't want to just splice together the two pieces, and then you'd lose the full context of why she ripped into him again and came back at him. She pointed, obviously, look, they got called out. She calls it out. This guy jumps up, how dare you, brings up Ireland's past and appealed to emotion, and she shot that down really quick. That has nothing to do with anything. That's like when we run around saying, well, we're free because of our revolution, so we're going to bring democracy to other countries. It doesn't give us the right because we had a revolution 230 some odd years ago. It doesn't give us the right to try to bring democracy to other people. No. It's the point she was making about in her own House of Commons there, or whatever it's called over there in Ireland. It's just the G8, Popeye. They're just getting together to handle global issues. That's what the G in G8 stands for. Great. I could care less. They're a bunch of global stooges is what they are. This is not what you people think it is. First of all, if it was some sort of socialist utopia or... let's say not even socialist, let's say some sort of perfect utopia where everybody, this new world order, this idea that they're trying to sell everybody, right? If it was so great, then why do they have to do it so quietly? And why, when you talk about it, are you called a conspiracy theorist retard? And then they talk about the same things on their shows, the mainstream media. If there's nothing to hide, why do it in the dark? And why attack people that question it? G8. Ugh. Globalism 8. The global 8. The 8 leading nations in this world. What are we fighting? What are we up against? What's the Justice League of the world up against? Nothing. Wake up. Wakey, wakey. Right back. The lead vaccine developer comes clean so she can, quote, sleep at night, end quote. It's the title of an article I have posted over on federaljack.com. It's right under the featured stories section. Dr. Diane Harper was the lead researcher in the development of the human papillomavirus vaccines Gardasil and Cervarix. She is the latest to come forward and question the safety and effectiveness of these vaccines. She made the surprising announcement at the 4th International Public Conference on Vaccination, which took place in Reston, Virginia on October 2nd through the 4th, back in 2009. Way to go, mainstream media. But no, they don't cover anything up. Her speech was supposed to promote the Gardasil and Cervarix vaccines, but she instead turned on her corporate bosses in a very public way. When questioned about the presentation, audience members remarked that they came away feeling that the vaccines should not be used. And then here's a quote from one of the audience members. Quote, I came away from the talk with the perception that the risk of adverse side effects is so much greater than the risk of cervical cancer, I couldn't help but question why we need the vaccine at all, end quote. And that's from a lady named Joan Robinson who attended the conference. Dr. Harper explained in her presentation that the cervical cancer risk in the U.S. is already extremely low and that vaccinations are unlikely, I'll repeat that, vaccinations are unlikely to have any effect upon the rate of cervical cancer in the United States. This comes from one of the developers, the lead developers of the vaccine, and she's telling you that it's the vaccine that she developed is unlikely to have any effect on the rate of cervical cancer in the United States. So what's the point of giving the vaccine and the push for it then? There has to be some sort of agenda. If it doesn't work, what's the push? They can't be pumping that much money into it. There are nefarious reasons for certain things, and I could get into that. Anyway, I'll continue with the article. In fact, 70% of all HPV infections resolve themselves without treatment in a year, and the number rises to well over 90% in 2 years. Harper also mentioned the safety angle. All trials of the vaccines were done on children aged 15 and above, despite them currently being marketed for 9-year-olds. So they were not tested on 9-year-olds or anybody between the ages of 9 and 15. That's a 6-year gap that they're saying, it's okay, they were tested. We know they're, okay, we tested them already. We know that there was control groups. No, they tested them on 15-year-olds. Again, lead vaccine developer is telling you that they did not test them on little kids. Do not get your daughter these vaccines. Now they want to give them to boys, too. Well, boys can suddenly get it, too. Dude, F yourself and your vaccines, okay? People need to knock it off. Vaccines don't give you immunization anyway, but that's a side broadcast. I've spent at least 2 hours on the subject of vaccines. Anyway, all of the trials were done on children aged 15 and above, despite them currently being marketed for 9-year-olds. So far, 15,037 girls have reported adverse side effects from Gardasil alone to the vaccine. Adverse Event Reporting System, VAERS, V-A-E-R-S. So, I'll repeat that. 15,037 girls have reported adverse side effects, and people are going to go, well, it's, if you look at the amount of shots out there. Wait a minute. Hold up for a second. That number should really scare the crap out of you, first of all. Over 15,000 girls? That's just the ones that are reported. What about the ones that haven't reported it? Because there's always that percentage that doesn't report, right? 15,037 girls have reported adverse side effects from the Gardasil alone to the vaccine adverse event reporting system. And this number only reflects parents who underwent the hurdles required for reporting adverse reactions, you see. So if they didn't do everything by the book, then it wasn't reported. So maybe they're only reporting half of them, right? I'm willing to bet if they had to leap through hurdles to get that number, it's probably at least double that. At the time of writing, 44 girls are officially known to have died from these vaccines. The report now that's officially known. Again, going through hurdles. So how many more died? And maybe the coroner didn't attribute it to the Gardasil shot, but they had the shot and it is part of it, and it's unknown, right? So at least there's 44 that they know that died. When we come back, I'll finish up with the article. Read you the side effects, and then I'll read you a quote from Dr. Diane Harper herself. Again, one of the lead developers of it, saying no. All right, we are back. I'm going to squeeze two things here into this segment, and then in the final segment, we should get into the Obamacare thing I wanted to tell you about really quick. So let me finish up with this article about one of the lead developers of the Gardasil and Cervarix, I think it's called. All right, let me get the name right here. Let me look. Yes. Oh, excuse me, Cervarix. I keep screwing it up. Cervarix. The Gardasil and Cervarix vaccines. One of the lead developers. So when we left off, she had explained, at least in the article, it explained that they were tested on 15-year-olds, not 9-year-olds, or down to 9-year-olds. Even though that's where they're being the vaccine is being marketed to. And at the time of writing, 44 girls had officially been known to died from the vaccine. Lord knows what the real number is. The reported side effects include Guillain-Barré syndrome, which is paralysis lasting for years or permanently, and sometimes can eventually kill people due to suffocation. Lupus, which is a horrible disease. Seizures, which are horrible to watch somebody go through. Trust me, I know. Blood clots, and brain inflammation, plus more. Parents are usually not made aware of these risks, however. Dr. Harper, the vaccine developer, claimed that she was speaking out so that she might finally be able to sleep at night. So this woman who developed this vaccine obviously has somewhat of a conscience. I wonder if she's still alive, but again, she spoke out in 2009. Now, the reason I bring this up now, people said, why didn't you bring it up 2 years ago when you first got on air, 2.5 years ago when you first started doing radio? I didn't know about this. Otherwise, I would have talked about it sooner. And I've talked about Gardasil before, and I might have even said that there were people that say, people that were involved in making it that say that it doesn't work, but I didn't know that one of the lead developers, this actually just came across my my desk about a day and a half ago, and during this weekend, and I was quite surprised. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk about it tonight. And this is the quote from her. Again, her name is Dr. Diane Harper. Quote, about 8 in every 10 women who have been sexually active will have HPV at some stage of their life. Normally, there are no symptoms. And in 98% of cases, it clears itself. But in those cases where it doesn't and isn't treated, it can lead to precancerous cells, which may develop into cervical cancer. End quote. So yes, if left untreated, and it can lead to it, but it's not this, and there are people that do suffer from it. And again, anybody that has to actually suffer with with it, if it's to the point where it could lead to like precancerous cells or anything like that, or your body's having an issue fighting it or whatever, then that's horrific, and it sucks, and I feel for you. But the vaccine wouldn't prevent it anyway. So there's no point in running around giving the vaccine to everybody, and the vaccine is actually killing little girls. It's killing girls. This is not a conspiracy theory. It's killing them. So parents, moms, educate yourself before you stick your kids with these shots, please. Again, the one motto I used to bullhorn was educate before you vaccinate. So where I almost got arrested by the Miami-Dade PD because I got in a fight with the sergeant and a couple of his officers because I refused to back down when they were giving out free vaccination shots, and the rest of the crew from Federal Jack that came with me. My wife came with me that day and actually turned away probably at least, I would say, 50, 60 people just from being able to speak Spanish, because most of the people they were marketing it to were non-English speaking, because they did it in a certain area in Miami. And my wife speaks fluent Spanish, and she had turned away at least 60 people. Gave them DVDs and information, just said, look, if you want to come back tomorrow, come back tomorrow. They'll be giving this stuff out all week. Just educate yourself before you stick your kid with this stuff. It's amazing how they don't want you to give people information. You can't give out free information. Give this out, which you guys could see him giving the finger. Anyway, educate before you vaccinate, ladies and gentlemen. So, moving on. I was talking about the El Dorado County Sheriff's Department out in Colorado, fighting with the feds. This is what all the sheriffs need to take a stand like this. Here, check this out.
CBS 13 is getting answers. Residents in one local county putting up a fight with federal officers.
They want to know what you're doing here, where you're going. Do we have any firearms?
It appears this fight is likely shaping up to be one over guns and the right to carry them. Laura Cole is in Placerville with a story you will see only on CBS 13.
It's highly unusual. A sheriff taking away Forest Service officers' ability to investigate and arrest for state crimes. But for the first time, we're getting a glimpse into why Sheriff John DeAugustini made the decision.
Look around you. It's absolutely beautiful.
Corey Ward is an avid outdoorsman who frequents the El Dorado National Forest. But he's concerned this paradise could turn into a police state.
I have felt intimidated.
He's got a long list of complaints against federal officers who patrol the forest.
They want to know what you're doing here, where you're going. Do we have any firearms?
And it appears this confrontation may come down to guns and the right to carry them and whether people are allowed to bring them on federal land. The Sheriff's Department says they've received more than 50 complaints from people who were just out enjoying the woods when they were stopped by an overly aggressive Forest Service officer. Some of those experiences have been posted on internet chat rooms, with bloggers demanding the El Dorado County Sheriff John DiAugustini get involved. And last week, he did, pulling the Forest Service officer's powers to enforce state laws.
It hasn't happened anywhere else in this state.
By phone, a U.S. Forest Service spokesperson says the agency met with the sheriff Wednesday, trying to work out their differences.
We hope that the relationship will continue and that we will, we'll look for ways to improve.
But for Corey, he just wants to enjoy the forest without fearing the feds.
I mean, this is your land. This is everybody's land. And we don't want to come here anymore.
Now, the Forest Service says this will affect their 7 officers who patrol the area, but they'll still be able to enforce federal laws and restrictions.
New changes are set to go into effect on July 22nd.
So there you have it. A sheriff at least standing up and having a set of balls. It's the way it needs to be. This is what needs to happen. I mean, this is really what needs to go on. Sheriffs need to stand up and say no. No, we won't confiscate firearms. No, we will not violate the Constitution. Remember, the sheriff has the ultimate authority. Did you notice there how they were like, we're trying to, keep relations with the sheriff's department and blah, 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 blah. You notice they can't get really tough and say, we're the federal government. I mean, if they really want to have that stand, they could, but go ahead, try it. That'll, you know what that would bring light to, right? I'm willing to bet they probably told them that if you go and speak to it, don't try to challenge the sheriff's authority, because this brings light. The sheriff's telling the feds, beat it. And if they continue to push this, right, what happens? Well, if they fight it, it's going to keep it out in the media, and it's going to keep the alternative media cycle can't be ignored anymore. So it'll be floating around, and the more that it's fought and the more that it's talked about, the more exposure it'll get. And then they'll be forced to cover it. Whereas if they just let things blow over for right now, let the media, it gets mentioned here or there, and then it dies down, and then they go out and they take care of things later. I mean, because rest assured, they'll do whatever they're going to do to, quote unquote, take care of things. This is what needs to happen. All the sheriffs on a lot of issues across this country need to stand up and stop being cowards. Well, I won't get federal grants. Good. Because federal money of any kind comes with a string attached. Any type of federal money comes with a string attached. Any of it. Any type of grant. Anything. Whenever Charlotte Iserby comes on, what does she talk about? She says, you do not want to go to a school, put your kids through a school that accepts federal money, federal grants, stuff like that, right? And what does she explain? Because any federal money comes with strings attached. Well, the same thing goes for these sheriff's departments. They don't get to have all their cool toys and have this operating budget to go buy stuff, and they don't get to be buddy-buddy and hang out with the feds if they take a stand against them. They won't get extra money for new toys. They won't get, surplus tanks and stuff like that, and they want that stuff. They need a tank. Don't you know they need tanks? I mean, God, the police need tanks. There's a war on crime in this country. It's coming. Oh my God, fear, you need a tank and an armored personnel carrier and helicopters. And oh my God, we need Blackhawks now. And Apaches. Really? I mean, do we need to buy into that crap? No, it's a lot of it is about, first of all, a lot of that fear is just used to sell it to us. Some of them are not, I would say a small amount of them that are into kissing the feds' behinds are actually believe that the whole terrorism fear, oh my God, scary Osama bin Boogeyman bull BS. Okay, let's get that straight. Most of them do it because it's job security, and they know that it's funds coming in, and they can afford to pay and have 15 deputies on and all this other stuff. And a lot of them know that if they don't get that federal funding, then maybe they won't have that extra whatever to pay 2 or 3 deputies, and they're going to have to lay off a couple of their deputies, or they're going to have to give up a couple of their toys, or get rid of their SWAT team. It's the reality of the situation. Now, I understand budgeting and everything else, but selling your soul to Satan is not the way to, deal with your budget. That's just not the proper way to do it. And selling everybody else out is not the way to do it either. There's got to be a better way. And, people in the communities, again, that's where one of the ways to step up is if you want to beat the feds, try to, get your people. See, the first thing is to wake people up. Once people are awake and they say, well, how about a solution? What would you offer? Well, okay, as a start, here's a solution for you. You go around, and once everybody realizes what's going on and has an idea of what's going on, you get the people together, and if everybody could, this is just an idea, you get everybody together in the whole county, you only need a certain majority, but or percentage-wise, but you get enough people, and you say to the sheriff, look, tell the feds to screw. You do what we want you to do, which is just what we voted you in for, follow the Constitution and protect and defend the Constitution, and don't blow the feds whenever they want anything just because they give you an extra couple bucks, and in return for getting your cool piece of equipment, you go and you violate people's rights. Well, you could still get the piece of equipment because they sell the stuff surplus, so there's ways to get it. They like to get it through, I forget what the program number is called, but it's where the feds give them the stuff if they buy it at all. But you can go to the armories and stuff sometimes and buy this stuff, surplus, and they have auctions and everything. There's ways to get it without signing your soul away to Satan to get the friggin' thing. So if everybody in the community, if there's enough percentage, big enough percentage, that said, look, we'll you get rid of the feds, don't worry about taking their money to fund the deputies. We figure if this amount of people every year give like $5, we can afford to keep on those 3 or 4 deputies, and that's what we'll do. But it has to be set up. We'll have attorneys set it up and legalese and all sort of crap, and they contractual wise so that they can't take the money and use it for anything else, and then but whatever. You figure out a way to set it in stone. But I mean, there's a way right there. So if you can maybe help fund those deputies each year, then maybe that's one way. You have at least a little bit more power now. You have a little bit of not upper hand, but you have some sort of stake in the game now. You have a little bit more of a bargaining chip, as it were, than you did before. So think about it. It's just an idea, and I'm sure if we actually sat down, we'd find others. So. Solutions, ladies and gentlemen. Inside Job. We'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Final segment. I'm going to talk about Obozo Care, which I'm going to be doing a couple shows tearing it apart coming up. But Obozo Care. What did I want to get into really quick? Well, your tax dollars are going to be paying Beyonce and what's the one from the Desperate Housewives? I can't remember her name. The little short Latina chick, her and a bunch of other ones. All these stars, the NFL, the White House is partnering with basically the entertainment industry to sell Obamacare to the younger generations to make it cool because, hey, Jay-Z and Rihanna and all these other famous people that really don't mean anything say it's cool and only the cool kids have Obamacare, so you should have Obamacare too. So, disgusting. And if they have to resort to that, then why do they have to resort to that? Obviously because people are buying into the conspiracy theories, Popeye. Right, and people are just actually doing their research and going, holy crap! Anyway, all right, we're out of here, ladies and gentlemen. We're out of time. Until tomorrow night, and I will be back live again tomorrow night. So until tomorrow night, I love you all. Don't buy into the fear porn. Remember, the solutions to our problems are an inside job. Don't look outside of yourself. Look inside of yourself. You'd be surprised how much power you actually have. Love y'all.